Okay, well, we're commercial real estate brokers, and we're your boots on the ground. And we buy properties for you, we manage properties, and we sell properties in Charleston, South Carolina. We're going to go through a little slide presentation right here. Charleston is affectionately known as the Holy City. Has anybody been to Charleston, South Carolina out there? Okay, great. It's known for the Holy City because of its religious freedoms. We like to call it the Holy City because after a few transactions with you guys, when we open our commission checks, we're going to say, holy moly. So that was supposed to be a joke. Actually, what we'd like to do, we also want to let you know that we focus in due diligence. So I've heard that already on the panel up here. And due diligence typically takes, some people 30 days, some people 60 days, some people 90 days. But we like to go through that with you to make sure that after you've made a qualified offer that you actually want to go through with the purchase. We're wearing seersucker suits today. And the reason we're doing it is because we want to be spotted by you. We want to be easy for you to find in the exhibit hall next door. But the seersucker suit is a tradition, or it's expected in Charleston, South Carolina. You go down there in the spring and through the summer and the fall, you'll find people walking up and down the streets in seersucker suits. It's made for a southern businessman in a hot climate like Charleston, and that's one of the things that is essentially in our wardrobe. What we want to do today is we want to converse with you, and if our slides are working here, you could press the slide. Right you're looking at here is the picture of the earth. You can invest anywhere you want to invest. We want you to invest, if you'll click it again there, Luiz. Watch it go down to little Charleston, South Carolina, right here on the coast. That's the peninsula. So we know you have a lot of choices to put your investment dollars. Anywhere in the world, anywhere in America, we want you to invest in Charleston, South Carolina, and we want to tell you why that is. Okay, this is a steakhouse in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got about 300 restaurants down there to go to. Has anybody been to Hall's Chop House before? Great. You'll constantly, if you were to Google, find Hall's is at the top of the list. This guy on the far left named Billy, he's the owner's son. I'll never forget when I went to Hall's Chop House one night on the Charleston Peninsula for an anniversary. We went in a big limo, and as soon as we parked the limo, Billy came out, opened the back door, let my wife in for an elegant evening. That's Southern hospitality right there, and that's what we pride ourselves on. In fact, you'll notice the pineapple down here. Pineapple means hospitality, and a lot of people from around the country, when they want to get married, will come down to Charleston, South Carolina and get married in front of our pineapple fountain. We've got a backdrop that's the Charleston Harbor down there. It's a real pretty show, and so we're known as sort of the wedding capital of the world. Okay, how about jobs? We've got 15,000 people a year that are now relocating into Charleston, South Carolina. So where are they working? People come in and relocate, and they need to find a place to work. Boeing is one of our major employers in town. We have a Boeing plant right next to our international airport, and the 787 Dreamliner is made there. A lot of you will remember that it was grounded about a little over a year and a half ago. They've just taken the ban off, and Boeing is again building these Dreamliners. They are selling to American and Delta in the U.S., and they are getting orders like crazy in other places around the order. Just got a $43 billion order from Taiwan. One other major employer in Charleston, South Carolina is our port. There's about 10 major ports in the U.S. On the East Coast, there's 5. We're number 2 in terms of cargo volume. So you'll see up here in the top right that the vessels that come into our harbor will unload the containers right there at the port. And these containers are full of contents. We'd like them to be taken out every day. The problem is they sit on that dock because we don't have enough warehouses around town to put the contents in. That's a problem. Here's a company, Walmart, that decided to make a $220 million to $300 million investment right outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And they have 3 million square feet of space in there to put all the contents. When they came in, they increased our port traffic by 5% alone. So this is a massive project. It's about 57 football fields in length. They store contents there for Walmarts in South Carolina and all the Walmarts in the southeastern U.S. There's plenty more room to invest, as you can see. There's a lot of undeveloped land around here. So while Charleston's growing, we need many more investment in the industrial space. Last thing before I give this over to Luiz, anybody recognize this guy on the left over here? Anybody know who this is in here? Phil Mickelson. He won one of the 4 majors, and that was the PGA at the age of 50. And believe it or not, he's the oldest major winner ever. It was the 2021 PGA Championship on Kiowa Island. Kiowa is one of our 5 beaches outside of Charleston, and it's the richest zip code in South Carolina. Luiz is about to speak about the first sector we're going to highlight, and the particular property is about a half a mile from the ocean course, which is where Phil won this tournament. All these people surrounding Phil up here is another example of the Southern hospitality, but that day they about knocked him down as he was going to the 18th green. So Luiz is going to highlight a sector, and go ahead here, Luiz.
Thank you, Richard. So if you haven't been to South Carolina, a great place to go is to Kiowa. Amazing area to travel to, take your children, your families. It's one of my favorite places to hang out, even though it's just a few minutes away from Charleston. And when I'm there, I feel like I'm in the Caribbean islands because it's such a beautiful spot, and you got a similar experience to it. But because a lot of people are also visiting the area, the real estate has appreciated quite a bit. There's a lot of businesses enjoying steady growth from the visitors that live there, and also the people that come, the locals and the visitors that come to visit Charleston. One project that's one of my favorite retail developments, it's called the Fresh Fields. The Fresh Fields is what you see here. It's about a 200,000 square feet retail property with some office and restaurants as well. You will see events throughout in the Great Lawn, which is in the center part of the property. And one of the interesting things about this development is that it's at the front part of the Kiowa, island. So when you come in, you see it right away, and you stop by, you get something to eat. You can find one of the favorite stores that you probably know about. This project was first opened in 2004. In 2013, they sold it for $59.8 million. And in 2022, a few months ago, it sold it again for $125 million. So, we joke, how would you like to make, $60 million on a probable $12 million down payment? This is just some of the things that's happening in Charleston. If you're looking for a property like that, something that you're trying to invest, buy, sell, manage, assess, whether today or down the road, this is something that we'll be happy to tell you more about, and some other things that are happening that we can connect you to different properties. Rich is going to highlight something else that goes hand in hand with what's happening in Kiowa with a lot of people visiting. He's going to talk about short-term rentals really quick.
Right. Short-term rentals today are really hot all across the country, but they're not any hotter than in Charleston, South Carolina. AirDNA keeps a database, and they consistently put Charleston within the top 5. In fact, we were number 1 a couple of months ago. The best way I know to talk to you about the short-term rental opportunity in Charleston is a live example. If you look at the left side over here, I know about this example because I live on the far right house. That's my house. Right next door is the one I'm going to talk about. And then on the left is the house, what it looked like before the investor came in and built the one in the middle. Didn't build it, added to it. When he moved in, he bought it for $1.7 million. It looked just like the one on the left. He put in $800,000, and he took a 4.3 up to a 6, 6.5. He put it on the rental market and immediately started getting revenue in, about $800,000 a year. His NOI is $400,000. He has $2.5 million in the property with $400,000 of NOI. That's a 16% cap. He had a decision to make at that point: just sit back and collect the cash flow, or sell it. He chose to sell it. So all he did is he moved his 16% cap down to a little under 10%, and he sold it for $4.2 million. And he had offers before the end of the first year was up. He had to wait so he wouldn't take a big tax bite. But he wound up making a 68% gain. He made $1.7 million on this transaction right here. And that's not the only one. Charleston has many, many different short-term rental opportunities. As of today, there were 78. I have a list of short-term rental opportunities in Charleston. These are the different beaches. This is Kiowa that we've talked about. This is the richest zip code in South Carolina. This is Folly Beach, where I live, the tip down there. It's where I live on the furthest tip. Kiowa's right next to it. This is going to be Isle of Palms. It's the largest of the 5 beaches that we claim as Charleston beaches. It has about 10 miles of shoreline. And this is Sullivan's Island. Sullivan's Island is the 2nd richest zip code in South Carolina. Stephen Colbert has his home here. Bill Murray had a home here not too long ago. And then in the middle, between the beaches on this side and the beaches on the other side, is the peninsula. And when people come to Charleston, they really don't drive around. It's similar to New York. There's a lot of foot traffic. So people will come down there and park their car and walk to these restaurants and these bars and these night spots. And that presents a great opportunity to own a short-term rental in downtown Charleston. And there's about 28 opportunities right now in short-term rental in downtown Charleston. So Luiz is going to highlight another sector, and he'll do it this time.
Thank you, Richard. So, this picture is probably paints a good picture of what we have. If you haven't visited, we are raffling a weekend in one of these, areas. We don't know exactly which one it will be yet, but come by our booth. We're right there at the very front part of the booth section, and we'll be raffling a weekend there. But we're running out of time almost. So anyway, a lot of people are moving to Charleston. Richard mentioned 15,000 people move there per year. We see a lot of residential development everywhere. Residential, I would say, from multifamily, single family, storage units are growing. There's a huge demand for that, and industrial space, as Richard mentioned, it's in very high demand as well. We have a very low vacancy right now at about 2.4% in the area. I want to just highlight a couple more of the employers in the area. You probably recognize most of them. Mercedes-Benz, Volvo. Volvo has a huge plant there, I should say. And Google has a data center. Walmart opened that big facility. Mercedes-Benz, they do the Sprinter van down in Charleston. We came today here to talk about Charleston, but we covered the entire state. So if you're looking for something, Myrtle Beach, for example, that's another city that has a very similar economic development experience that we have seen in Charleston. And Greenville. I don't know if you noticed earlier, Richard had a slide that had a BMW on it. If you have an X5 or if you have had an X5 in the past, it probably came from the Port of Charleston. They are manufactured in Greenville. They ship it to the Port of Charleston, and from the Port of Charleston, it goes everywhere in the country, including Germany. They actually make them in South Carolina. Again, we're commercial brokers. If you're looking to buy, assess, manage, whatever you need, if you want to just talk to us today, 5 years from now, feel free to give us a call. Don't hesitate to, catch our business cards later, and we'll be happy to talk to you more.
One last bit. This is our first presentation. We're brand new members, and the time is running low. I just wanted to make one point. I used to run a medical device company in Atlanta, Georgia, just to the west of us. And I had 20 people that were selling for me. And I asked the number one guy, what makes you get more customers and keep more customers? And he said, really, it's one thing. These are smartphones. Luiz, myself, and Lucas. Every one of us have it. I can't tell you how many investors tell me that they can't get anybody to pick up their phone. When you call us, it comes right here, we'll pick it up and say hello. When you text us, we'll text you right back. When you email us, we will confirm that we got the email and we'll do the work. The point is, if you're involved in a deal, you need access 24/7, 365. Here's the access. We're not going to put you off with a property manager or a support staff contact. If you're working with me, you'll have access. If you're working with Luiz or Lucas, the same thing. So today, there's 2 ways to get involved if you want to talk further. You can drop your card in our fishbowl. Lucas is over here on the way out. Maybe write the sector you're interested in. We will call you back. Number 2, come by our booth. We've got a bunch of opportunities. I'd love to sign you up for my short-term rental newsletter. We appreciate talking today and hope you enjoy the rest of your summit.